The clink of cutlery and the low hum of chatter filled the prestigious restaurant, La Fontaine. It was the kind of place where million-dollar deals were signed over crystal glasses of wine, where elegance hung in the air like perfume. That night, however, the atmosphere was strained at one corner table. Dr. Karim al-Rashid, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the Middle East, sat rigidly, his dark brows furrowed. The billionaire had flown into the city after a long, disastrous meeting, only to be kept waiting at this restaurant for over 20 minutes. The servers were polite but distracted, and the communication barrier only deepened his irritation. "Unacceptable," he muttered in Arabic, his low voice dripping with impatience. "I don't have time for this nonsense." He shoved back his chair, ready to leave, when a soft voice stopped him. "Excuse me, sir. May I help?" Karim turned, startled. Standing before him was a young waitress with tired eyes but a steady posture. Her name tag read Layla Haddad. Unlike the other staff, she didn't stumble over her words. Instead, she addressed him in flawless Arabic, her voice smooth and respectful. "Please don't go," she said in his mother tongue. "I will personally take care of everything." Karim froze, his eyes narrowing. "You speak Arabic?" Layla gave a small smile. "Yes, sir. My late father was a professor of languages. He taught me every day after school. It's a part of him I carry with me." For the first time that evening, Karim's scowl softened. He sank back into his chair, curiosity piqued. The unlikely connection. Layla quickly handled his order, ensuring every detail was correct. She moved with grace and precision, her humility masking the exhaustion in her face. Karim, who had spent years surrounded by sycophants and power-hungry elites, found himself oddly fascinated. "Why are you working here?" he asked in Arabic as she poured his water. Layla hesitated before answering. "Because sometimes, life doesn't give us choices. My mother is sick. The hospital bills don't wait. This is the only way I can keep us afloat." Her honesty struck him. Karim was used to people bending the truth for favor, but this girl spoke with raw sincerity. He ate in silence, but his eyes followed her as she served other tables with the same patience and kindness. She didn't discriminate between a wealthy businessman and a struggling couple counting their coins. Every guest received the same warm smile. Something stirred inside Karim, a reminder of his own humble beginnings. Years before fortune had built a wall between him and humanity, a test of kindness. The evening took a turn when a group of rowdy customers began mocking Layla. They criticized her accent when she spoke English and made cruel jokes loud enough for her to hear. Layla lowered her head, swallowing her pride as she continued serving them without complaint. Karim's jaw tightened. He had seen countless people endure humiliation to keep their jobs, but something about this young woman's quiet dignity enraged him. When one of the men reached out to tug her wrist as she tried to clear their table, Karim stood up abruptly. "Enough!" he barked in English, his deep voice echoing through the restaurant. "Show some respect." The entire room went silent. The men shrank under his glare, quickly paying their bill and leaving without another word. Layla stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly. She turned to him in Arabic. "You didn't have to do that." Karim looked at her, his tone softening. "Yes, I did. No one should treat you that way." For the first time in years, the billionaire felt like he had done something not out of power, but out of principle. The invitation. By the end of the night, Karim asked Layla to sit with him for a moment. She refused at first, worried about breaking rules, but he insisted. "You reminded me tonight," he said, "that humanity is worth more than wealth. You spoke to me in the language of my heart, and you carried yourself with grace when others tried to break you." Layla's eyes glistened. "I only did what anyone should do, sir." Karim shook his head. "No, what you did was extraordinary. Tell me, Layla, what do you dream of?" Her voice trembled. "I dream of finishing my degree, of building a better life for my mother. But dreams are expensive." Karim leaned forward. "Then maybe it's time someone invested in your dream." Layla stared at him in disbelief. Was this stranger, This angry billionaire who had nearly walked out, offering to change her life? The following morning, Karim al-Rashid sat in the penthouse suite of his hotel, staring out at the city skyline. The restless hum of cars below felt distant. What echoed in his mind was not his multi-million-dollar deal from the day before but the image of Layla. Her tired but determined smile, her flawless Arabic, and her quiet dignity in the face of cruelty. For years, Karim had built walls around his heart. Wealth had given him respect, but it had also surrounded him with people who wanted something from him. But Layla? She had wanted nothing. And in that selflessness, she had given him something he hadn't felt in years. Sincerity. The decision. By midday, Karim made a call to his assistant, Samir. Find out everything you can about a waitress named Layla Haddad who works at La Fontaine, he ordered. Samir raised an eyebrow but didn't question. Within hours, Karim had the details. Layla was 24, juggling night shifts at the restaurant and part-time classes at a community college. Her mother, Mariam, was battling a rare heart condition, and mounting medical bills had pushed them to the edge of eviction. Karim closed his eyes, his decision made. He wasn't going to simply write a check and disappear. No, he would help her in a way that restored her dignity, not stripped it away. The unexpected visit. That evening, as Layla tied her apron for another exhausting shift, the last person she expected to see walk in was Karim. But this time, he wasn't seated in the shadows of the restaurant. He approached her directly, his commanding presence drawing the eyes of everyone in the room. "May I speak with you for a moment?" he asked in Arabic. Nervously, Layla nodded, leading him to a quiet corner. "I thought about what you told me yesterday," Karim began. "Your dream of finishing school, of helping your mother. I want to offer you a position, not as a waitress, but as a cultural liaison at my company. You speak Arabic, English, and French." "Yes." Layla's jaw dropped. "Yes, but I'm not qualified for such an important role." Karim smiled faintly. "You are more qualified than half the people I've interviewed. You have discipline, kindness, and the rare ability to connect with people. I'll cover your mother's medical expenses, and I'll ensure you finish your degree." Tears welled in Layla's eyes. "Why would you do this for me?" Karim's gaze softened. "Because someone once believed in me when I was nobody. Now it's my turn. A new beginning." Within weeks, Layla's life transformed. She left the restaurant and stepped into the gleaming offices of Karim's international firm. At first, she felt like an imposter walking through the glass doors, but Karim encouraged her every step of the way. He arranged for tutors to help her complete her studies while working, and soon Layla was traveling with him to conferences, bridging cultural gaps with her impeccable language skills. Where others saw just a billionaire's assistant, Karim saw something more. A young woman blooming into her potential. At home, her mother's health began to stabilize, thanks to the best medical care money could buy. Mariam often clasped Karim's hands with tears in her eyes, whispering, "You've given my daughter her future back." But Karim would always shake his head. "No, madam. She's earning it herself. I only opened the door." The heart awakens. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Karim and Layla shared dinner in the company's private dining hall. For once, the conversation wasn't about work but about life. "You know," Layla said thoughtfully, "I used to think people with wealth lived in another universe. But you carry loneliness too, don't you?" Karim was silent for a moment before admitting, "Yes, I've spent years surrounded by noise but living in silence. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy peace. Last night, when you spoke to me in Arabic, it felt like home." Layla's chest tightened. She had never imagined a man of his stature could feel so human, so vulnerable. In that moment, something shifted between them. Respect turned into trust, trust into warmth, and warmth into a quiet bond neither of them could deny. The transformation. Months passed, and Layla's journey inspired not just Karim but the entire company. She spearheaded community outreach programs, ensuring scholarships for underprivileged students and medical support for struggling families. Her story became a living reminder that kindness, when nurtured, could ripple outward to change countless lives. And Kareem? He found himself changing too. The hardened businessman began smiling more, engaging with employees personally, and making decisions with empathy rather than just profit. One evening, as they returned from a successful conference, Kareem paused before stepping out of the car. "Layla," he said softly, "I once thought power was found in wealth, but you've shown me that true power lies in kindness. You saved me from walking out of that restaurant, not just physically, but from walking out of life itself. For that, I will always be grateful." Layla's eyes glistened, her voice trembling. "And you saved me from giving up on dreams. We helped each other, Kareem." The full circle. 1 year later, at a charity gala hosted by Kareem's foundation, Layla stood at the podium. She addressed the audience in flawless Arabic, then English, her voice confident and clear. "Kindness," she said, "is the one investment that never fails. A single moment of compassion changed my life. And now, I hope to pass that gift forward." The audience erupted in applause. In the crowd, Kareem's proud smile was brighter than any diamond in the room. They had started as strangers, an angry billionaire and a struggling waitress, but their paths had intertwined into something extraordinary. Together, they had proven that a single act of kindness could alter the course of destiny.